All right, ready? You can go now.
So this is our CHE 445 senior lab project. We are developing hand sanitizer. This project was by Marissa Ciano, Noah Coucher, and Jared Hayes.
All right, so this is an overview of our production process and how we plan on making this hand sanitizer. The reaction that we're going to be using is a direct hydration of propylene. Essentially, you're having water react with propylene in a reactor in a reversible reaction, so you're not going to get 100% product of IPA. So you're going to have three products coming out: isopropyl alcohol, propylene, and water, because it's not all going to react. Our plan is to try to capture about even just 0.1% of the market. You'd be looking at 2.7 million in revenue, as the hand sanitizer market is as big as $2.7 billion in 2019. We plan on selling the hand sanitizer for about $8 a liter, which is approximately $9.44 per kilogram. We came to that number just based on what big brands like Purell were going for. We just wanted to be competitive with them, obviously. And at this price point, we will need to produce about 1,100 kilograms per day if we want to reach that 0.1% of the market. And that's based on 287,000 kilograms per year, and assuming that we would work about 280 days per year. And below here, we have the World Health Organization guidelines for an isopropyl alcohol-based hand sanitizer. So as you can see, after we get our isopropyl alcohol from this reaction, we'll have to add these three glycerol, hydrogen peroxide, and distilled water to it.
So this is our flow sheet of the process. You can see we have propylene and water coming into the reactor. The propylene will be in the vapor phase, the water will be in the liquid phase at 2 atm and 75 degrees Celsius. This is what the reactor is, where the reaction will take place. As you can see, the feed will have a composition of propylene, about 20% molar, the water around 20%, and the IPA around 60%. It will be a vapor and liquid mix, and it will be fed into our separator. Our separator is necessary to make sure the IPA, or make sure that we get the propylene out of the water IPA mixture. We haven't completely finished the separator yet. We're not sure what pressure and temperature we want to run at. And we have not determined, obviously, what will be coming out of the bottom tray and the distillate. Ideally, the distillate will be 99% propylene, and the bottom tray will be mostly IPA and water. So.
All right, so I'm going to talk a bit about how we selected our operating conditions for the reactor. So first of all, mixtures of water and isopropyl alcohol are azeotropic. This is important because after you go past a certain concentration of isopropyl alcohol in a mixture between the two, you can't, they become inseparable by distillation, which is a problem because that's obviously how we plan on separating our mixture. So we need to be conscious of the fact that there is an azeotrope here. So based on that, we chose our operating conditions at a pressure of 2 atmospheres and 75 degrees Celsius. Ideally, we wanted the lowest pressure possible, but at 1 atmosphere, we had trouble getting close to the azeotrope without going past it at a reasonable temperature. So at 2 atmospheres, we also felt that we could get a higher liquid composition of propylene, which would help us later on in um, in the product when we go to the separators, because it would just be easier to calculate how many trays and stuff we'll need for the distillation columns. So, and then as you can see, at 75 degrees Celsius, and 2 atmospheres, we're achieving a yield of 62% isopropyl alcohol by moles, and we are not past the azeotrope. So we will be able to distill it if that's our exit composition. So as I said, we're going to have 62% isopropyl alcohol exiting the reactor, and then 19% of both water and propylene. The stream is a liquid vapor mixture with about, I believe, 76% of that mixture is in the liquid phase. So we're sending the stream from the reactor. So the product stream from the reactor will be our feed into our distillation column, our separator. And the goal is to essentially vaporize all the propylene out of our mixture due to the fact that it has a much lower boiling point than the other two. And then the condenser will be able to liquefy any remaining water or IPA in the vapor phase. The propylene that's removed will then be sent in a recycle stream back to the reactor so we can use it again in the reaction so we're not wasting any. And then the graph on the next page will show how much propylene is present in each of the liquid and vapor phase entering the separator.
So for this graph, we started at our feed stream for the separator, which was also the product stream of the reactor, which was 0.19 for propylene, and we drew a line straight up to our temperature, and then from there we drew a line to the liquid stream and the vapor stream, and once they hit those lines, we drew a line straight down, giving us our composition of each phase.
So in the end, our goal is to get 75% by volume IPA from the separator after we include the addition of glycerol and hydrogen peroxide. The goal is to have less than 10 parts per million of propylene in our product stream from the separator. Once this final product is recovered, we will convert the moles to volume. Ideally, we'll have less than 75% volume of IPA in our product stream. Therefore, when we add the glycerol and hydrogen peroxide, hopefully it'll be roughly 75% mole volume of IPA.
So for conclusions, we had a few hiccups with understanding the problem and making sure we were able to look at what was being asked to lead us to the right track. Few setbacks, like we said, the pressure, testing that out, the temperature, the composition, correct equation of state, all things to play around with on Aspen and make sure they all made sense and would help us out in the long run. And then our lack of experience with separators during another class was another setback, but once we got to the right track, we were able to move forward and be prepared for what's next. So what is next? Using the XY graph on the next slide for our mixture of IPA and propylene, we're going to be able to calculate the steps that we need to separate the propylene from the IPA with a 10 parts per million tolerance. We plan on determining the optimal operating conditions for our distillation column and also creating that recycle stream that was talked about before of the propylene from the separator back to our reactor.
So going forward, this will be this is our XY diagram of propylene. So this will tell you basically what your how it will separate in the separator basically based on your liquid mole fraction going in of propylene. And we will be able to determine the amount of steps that our separator will take to separate that propylene, ideally so that the liquid coming out of the separator will have less than 10 parts per million.
Okay.
All right, and that's the end of our presentation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.